old, at 33 years old, I'm like, I could care less. All I want to do is have my hands in the dirt. Like I want to farm at some point. I want the next house, and I want an acre, and I want more flower beds. And I just
Team Woods is pleased to introduce you to Amethyst Robinson, owner of Soulflower Florals. Amethyst transformed a COVID lockdown discovery into a thriving microurban flower farm in Blacklick, Ohio. Originally from the fashion and production industry, she cultivated her passion by starting over 100 flower varieties from seed in just 500 square feet of gardening space. Amethyst named the company Soulflower because growing flowers makes her soul feel happy and whole. Her business is a testament to finding joy and purpose in connecting with nature and sharing its beauty. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this Team Woods production.
What's up? I'm Scott, Make It Rain Fame, cut from paper, built from pain, here to teach, reach, and entertain, spreading peace like summer rain.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting you last weekend, and it was a pleasure getting to talk to you a little bit. But I really was interested in getting into it a little bit and talking a little bit on this podcast to kind of share your story a little bit. So, from my understanding, you weren't always interested in gardening or even spending time outdoors. So, what was before flowers life like for you, and what were you focused on?
I feel like the normal things. I mean, we got through COVID, and it was just everything was just revolved around what I was doing with my career out of college, and just trying to figure out like what I wanted to do. And I think just trying to adult in general and get used to like handling my finances and thinking about my job. And I'm in a long-term relationship, and I just feel like I didn't have a lot of hobbies, and I had always been like a hobby person. Even when I was younger, like I sewed and I made jewelry, and I like to paint, and I love to read. And it's like when I got out of college, I just feel like all that stuff went to the wayside because I was just so focused on figuring out what I wanted to do job wise. So I didn't really have anything that was bringing me a lot of just pure joy,
Well, you mentioned COVID. How did COVID lockdown specifically prompt you to pick up gardening as a hobby?
Oh man, I mean, we were stuck in the house. I feel like everyone, you kind of saw this surge of like people going to Lowe's and starting to like do things in their house and trying to make do renovations and whatnot. And we were in an apartment at the time, and it just had this little patio slab in the back, and there was just like this tiny little plot of dirt. And I don't even remember what prompted us to go to the garden center, but it was just like a big box store. I'm pretty sure it was Lowe's again around the corner. It was at our Home Depot. And I was just like, I'm going to buy some flowers. I'm going to fix up that little space. And, it'll be my own little thing. Grandma was, my grandma used to garden and stuff. And I was like, maybe I'll get into, try some flowers out and see how they go. And I just went and bought basically anything that I thought was cute. And I got back and I didn't read any of the directions. I didn't know how much water, how much sun anything needed. I didn't look to see if they're supposed to be in shade or not. And I just stuck them in the ground. I stuck them in the ground to see what would happen, and I watered them, and I was just checking on them every day. And yeah, eventually they died. Eventually they died. But I enjoyed that. I took little pictures of them. I remember being proud and like sending my grandma a picture and being like, look, I'm gardening too. And like showed her all the little flowers that I was growing. But eventually it's like they started slowly getting issues. Like some of the leaves started wilting. One of them started completely just kind of getting like going limp in the ground. Like it's just what they weren't doing well. But I mean, in that little short period that I had them, I was just so proud of like the little plot that I had put together, and I was just like excited to have something to focus on, instead of just being in the house. We were just trying to be outdoors more in general at that point. It was all we could really do.
Yeah, I do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think more people need to get out there and experiment. I've been doing that the last few years with my garden, and from when I started to now, I'm much better, and you get more rewards out of it. So I get it. You moved into your home.
Mm-hmm.
You already had existing raised beds, correct, for growing plants and things?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that, just the home and dedicated space and how that worked out for you.
I honestly when we were looking at houses and when we had considered this house, I didn't even notice the beds until we actually got the house and I was in the backyard, like walking around. And it's funny because they're like right in plain sight, but I think it was just like the nerves of like, oh my God, we're going to have our first house. And so, you're just looking through everything. You don't figure out, what is really going on with the house until you're in it.
Right.
And I remember going back there and there was actually veggies and stuff in it already. So I was just trying to figure out like what they had left. And I didn't find that the previous owners had actually left a handwritten note on the counter, and they had said like, hey, we left these box gardens. There's some veggies in there. We don't know how well they're doing, but they're yours to do what you want with. They come with the house. And I remember there was like broccoli. I think there was tomato. And they had a plot in the front too that had herbs. It was just like for display, but they had like there's oregano. I actually just pulled some of that oregano out, but there was oregano, thyme, parsley. I think that was really it. And I mean, I didn't know what to do with those vegetables, and that's something we could talk about in a little bit, but I definitely learned I'm not a vegetable person. I'm not a vegetable person. They're a lot of work. I would like to be eventually, I may try and get back in there, but I saw those box gardens. I was just like, well, they're already here. They have soil in them. Maybe I'll just grab a couple more bags and add to them. And I went online and I ordered a few different seeds and I threw them in there and kind of just was like, we'll see what happens, And at that point, I was being better about reading the packets, especially when you're starting from seed. It's completely different from buying the baby plants, the seedling plants. Mm-hmm. So I tried my best, and I think I had about like 5 or 6 different types of flowers, and I tried them out, and they filled the whole bed. I mean, it was a pain in the butt trying to harvest them at that point, but to me, it was just like, oh, I got flowers, I could pick them, and I could throw them in a vase, and that was enough for me. It was something that made me happy.
Yeah, I love flowers. I go vegetables more than flowers for different reasons. But you had mentioned before about this documentary, Growing Floret. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I hadn't heard about that until you had mentioned it. Can you tell me what that is and just a little bit of how it helped get you on this path?
I feel like, and I wonder, sometimes I think actually that I feel like that documentary is what really sparks it for most flower farmers. I feel like almost all of them have seen it, but it's the story of Erin Bensikin, and she's a flower farmer, and it's her telling her story about how she started this flower farm and just started growing flowers in general, and just how it brought her joy, and it bringing her joy, she started to research and look into it more, and she started seeing how there was this gap in education about flowers, because in free education, let me put that point, in free education, and she really just wanted to be able to put that knowledge out to the community without feeling like, you have to charge people an arm and a leg, or they have to have a subscription and all this stuff. And so she started a blog about it on top of the documentary, and it just, watching it, I remember, and it's funny because every time I watch it, I bust out crying every time I watch it. It's very touching, and I feel like when you watch something that's so moving like that, you just feel it like in your heart and in your soul. And when I was watching it, and there's these slow-mo kind of like clips of her walking through these fields early in the morning, and she's just like stopping and like talking to her flowers and acknowledging them and telling them they're doing so good. And she just looks so peaceful. And I just thought, like, I want that. The way she spoke about them, it was just like this passion. And I just felt it. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I want to do that. And so I looked online, and she actually had books out. And so I started ordering her books and learning that way too. But it was kind of like a rabbit hole. It's like, once I watched the documentary, I was like, what's her website? What's her Instagram? What books does she have? Like, yeah. And it was just like, from there on out, it was just tunnel vision, really.
Yeah, I love the peace of mind that you get from walking through nature. So when did the switch flip from small hobby to realizing, hey, I can make this into a much bigger business, or, actually bring in income from it?
I think, honestly, I feel like once I started getting more feedback and the praise I was getting on the flowers I was giving away, because that's how it really started, is I started growing so many that I was like, I want to make these bouquets and practice arranging, and I'll just give them to like my coworkers and I'll give them to my neighbors. So that's what I was doing. And I started taking requests from my coworkers. I'd be like, well, if you were to have a color palette, like what kind of color palette would you like? And I'd take it as like, okay, challenge accepted. And so I'd go and like arrange these flowers, and then the next day I'd bring them in surprise. Well, I guess it was kind of surprise, but bring them to them and have it on their desk, and they'd just be like, you grew these? Oh my God, like I've never seen flowers like these before. And it just made me, I felt so proud, like, in that I did that, you know? And I felt like it had been a while since I felt like I was truly good at something, for lack of better words, where I felt like I'm really good at this. Like, and I feel like I'm a rookie, like, not to like toot my own horn, like I'm still a rookie, but the feedback I was getting was just really encouraging. And my wife is very business minded, and from the beginning she's like, you can make money off this. and I'm always like, I don't want to. No, I'm not going down that road, because I feel like when you attach the dollar sign, then you have to be held to a standard. You know, you're scared of the perfection. You know, somebody's paying. What if they don't like them? That type of thing. So I'm a chicken. I don't like that. You know, once it gets to that point, I'm like, nope, done with that hobby. But I just felt like, oh, sorry.
No, I just said this one stuck.
Yeah, this one stuck. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to sell. I'm not going to put this crazy goal. Like, I'm going to be rich off of this. Like, I'm going to see what happens if I put a dollar sign on these and see if people are interested. And then it was just like the whole ordeal of trying to figure, like, what do you charge for flowers? Do I charge as much as they do in the grocery store? Do I charge less because I'm a baby? Like, you know?
And then you're doing, like, you're arranging them yourself too. That's a whole skill within itself.
Oh, I love it. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're creating art with, you know, flowers. So that's not. You mentioned color palettes and things like that. You know, especially this eye for it. That's a marketable skill. I mean,
yeah, apparently so, because that's what people were saying. Like, oh, like one of my coworkers, the part of our client, he arranges flowers for fun too. And I had showed him some pictures of what I was doing. And he was like, you have an eye for color. He was like, you know, you're still working. I can tell you're still working out like shapes and stuff and not jumbling things too much together. He was like, but the color palette, he was like, you're natural at that. I can see that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know, building myself up and I was like, okay, maybe I am good at this. There's always like that tiny question mark at the end, like, I'm good at this. But I feel like it's getting to be a very solid period at the end of that sentence now that I've been doing it for a few more years. I'm only on year 4, by the way. So it's getting there. But yeah, I think going back to it though, to the original question about getting into the business, I just wanted to see what would happen. And it was enough clientele or people that bought from me that I felt like, okay, this is cool. It's a nice little side hustle. It's not too much pressure. People like them. I'm going to keep going with it. And so I did a market, and the market went pretty well too. My friends were there to support me, which was amazing. And I think now I just feel like, okay, I did it. So now I could do a little bit more. And that's what I'm shooting for this summer, you know, to try to put myself out there just a little bit more.
Seems like, like you have like, since you have such a small area, when it comes to, this is just something that occurred to me when you're talking, when you cut down the flowers and, you know, arrange them or what have you, how fast can you get more to replace the ones that you just cut off? Like, do they grow back fast enough where you can continuously produce?
Yeah, I feel like because I'm not cutting every single bloom at once. Like when I harvest, I just harvest what looks like it's ready to be harvested. So there are some things that are still budding up. So you kind of have that succession of things that are getting ready to bloom once you cut those. And once you cut the first batch or harvest the first batch of flowers. But as you continue to cut them, which that's why they're called cut flowers, it kind of focuses their energy to keep producing more. So it actually will make your plants, like your flower plants, bush out more or try to sprout more heads, because the whole life cycle of a flower is it's trying to get to seed and get to that point so that way it could spread its seeds, and that way it can pretty much populate more of itself around wherever it's growing. So when you're cutting those flowers, it's focusing on energy, like, okay, I got to put out more heads so that way there's more chance of my little heads going to seed and spreading all over the ground, and then there'll be more flowers. So it just encourages them. So the more you cut, the more cut flowers you should get out of that batch. Eventually they do kind of like taper down towards the end of the season because they get tired, just like us, and they have to have a rest period, you know, or you just pull them out and you put some new ones in. But yeah, they can come back for sure. Probably take about, I want to say, if you want some solid blooms, I give them like a week, honestly. But you should always have some that are getting ready to like bud up and bloom right after you cut the other ones, because you're not cutting every single flower at the same time.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. I now have a picture in my mind, because I was like, oh, I didn't know. How do you do that? Now, with being in a home, I know that we have some homeowners associations, and sometimes they're kind of funny. How's your experience been with dealing with the homeowners association?
Well, funny is a nice word for it. Funny is a nice word for it. I haven't had any issues yet. Honestly, we haven't really had many issues at all with them yet, besides the fact that they're kind of a pain in the butt with all the regulations. But I mean, the main thing is that we keep our yard and stuff tidy. And the way that I have my plots, it doesn't look like a farm. It looks like a huge just border perimeter garden. So I have it all around. My garden beds are around the perimeter of the fence. So I don't have anything in the center and stuff. I don't do rows, just because I wanted to be considerate of the fact that my wife also likes to entertain. I mean, she has a big family, so we needed that space, our little suburban backyard, to be able to have family over still, and not just have like, I don't want to just take over backyard. I mean, I would if she said go ahead and do it, but you know, we have compromise, and the compromise is, hey, every year I ask, can I put some more flowers there? And she's like, I don't care, just go ahead. And so now I have this whole perimeter. And the HOA hasn't said anything. I think it's just more so a matter of keeping things tidy. I think if it looked like I had a full-on farm in my backyard, and they knew I was conducting business out of my home, because that's a rule. You're not supposed to have a business associated with your home. But it's not like I'm running a shop. Right. I actually harvesting my flowers, putting them in my car, and driving them where they're supposed to be. People don't come to my house to pick up flowers. So it's kind of like that little loophole.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, all you're doing is growing flowers. It's not necessarily anything wrong with that.
I feel like it's a sad world if they're mad that you're growing flowers. Like
exactly. Although I can't imagine a backyard full to the brim with just flowers growing. That sounds like heaven.
Amazing, right? Right.
It sounds awesome.
I keep talking to the next house. That's going to be the next house. Backyard full of flowers.
So you're mostly self-taught. What are some of the key resources or most important lessons you learned during your time when you were doing the self-education?
I think one of the most important lessons is knowing that you're going to kill some plants. You're going to kill some plants. It doesn't matter how much stuff you read, how many videos you watch. If you're watching it and doing every single thing that video is doing, you're going to kill some of them flowers. And I think a lot of it is just trial and error, and that's how I started. But then I did want to, educate myself more. So definitely, folks, there's some big names in the flower world. Of course, Erin Bensiken, and there's Christine Alptrek, that she focuses on dahlias. And when I finally did get into dahlias 2 years ago, her videos were great. She has hundreds of them on YouTube. And then just asking questions. I have gotten to be a person, just from the jobs that I've had, where I'm not afraid to ask questions, because the worst someone can do is either tell you, no, I'm not answering that, or ignore you altogether. And so the people I connected with in the farming community on Instagram and the forums that I found on Facebook for gardeners, people have been very kind to answer my questions. I mean, I remember being kind of like shocked and also excited, because there was a farmer on Instagram that I was following at the time when I first opened my Instagram. She had like all these thousands of people, so I could tell she was pretty popular. And I had sent her a question once, and she actually had taken the time to send me a voice memo back to answer. And I was just like, oh, I really wasn't expecting that. I'm sure she gets hundreds of messages a day, to have somebody take the time to answer you thoroughly like that. I was just like, okay, these folks are like really kind and just as enthusiastic as you are,
That's I get that from gardeners, people who are out in the, because you're spending time in the garden, so that keeps you a little bit more grounded and just gives peace of mind. So let me walk us through a little bit of the evolution of your seed startup setup, because I think you said you went from one shelf to a full basement grow room.
Even before that one shelf, before the one shelf, the first time I ever grew from seed, I just used the windows in our office. We had like a loft space, and there's a couple big windows. And I just set up two little tiny like dinner tray fold out tables, and I had bought the little burpee pods that are like the peat moss pods that you just add water and
Yep.
throw your seeds in. And I had them by the window, and that was the first time. That was my first true setup, honestly, before I ended up buying a shelf. And from that, I ended up getting my first shelf from Amazon the next year, and I set it up in my room. And in hindsight, having a grow shelf on top of carpet is not the best idea, especially if you're going to be fertilizing. That was a new compromise I had come up in discussion with my wife, because she was like, "You're making the whole upstairs it smell like boo-boo with your fertilizer in your room." And she was like, "We got to figure this out, like, because you can't grow that shit in your room." And so
Maybe hardwood flooring.
right, at least. But even then, it was like it was in the center of our house, and the fertilizers I were using were like emulsified fish.
Ooh,
And you only use like a cap in the water, but it smells. Yeah. So this, when we got the house, it has a unfinished basement. She's like, "That's gonna be like, her hangout spot," and I didn't want to intrude on that or impede on it at all. But when it came time, she was just like, "Just put your shelf in the basement, then just go ahead, we'll carve out a little space for you, you put your stuff in there, and that's where you're gonna have to grow it, because we can't have that upstairs, it smells." And that's how it started to evolve. And then one shelf became 3 shelves, and now I have it's still a corner, but you would be surprised what you could fit on 3 shelves, and it kind of sounds impossible when you're like, you grow all those flowers and you only got 3 little shelves, but you have trays that are like 72 cells each. That's 72 flower plants that you're growing in one tray, and you can fit multiple trays on each shelf. So you have to think about it that way.
Yeah, it's an economy of space, and it sounds like you're using it as best and most efficiently as you can.
Yeah.
So what motivates you to start so many varieties of seed for yourself? Of seed?
I think just wanting to try to see if I could do it, and just seeing things when I'm on the websites that are pretty and thinking, I want to grow that, I want to try to grow it. And I do read the directions and stuff ahead of time, like the growing facts on it. I buy a lot of my seeds from Johnny's Seeds online, and they it's a website meant for people who farm out on a larger scale. So the packets will have like 50 to 100 seeds for the smallest packet. But just reading to see how difficult they are, and I kind of go from there too, because there are some things that I haven't tried out yet, just because there are some seeds that are a little more complicated and need a little more hand holding. But mostly you'd be surprised. My best friend, who has never grown anything, last year got 2 orchids, and she's had them rebloom 3 times. And I was like, orchids are so hard to grow, and you just bought this orchid and just put it somewhere. She was like, I just put it somewhere and put an ice cube in it, and it just keeps reblooming. I was like, you would be the one that doesn't in flowers, and you got an orchid to rebloom like 3 times.
Yeah, that's why every time you say difficult flower, that's the one that I think of. I've never seen anybody talk about orchids that didn't have like a greenhouse or something.
Right.
Environment.
It's on her kitchen windowsill, and she sends me pictures every time it blooms. I'm just like, girl, that's an anomaly.
Leave me alone. Don't talk to me about that.
Right. And I'm like, come on, grow some seeds, some seeds. But it's just growing what you like, and growing what's pretty for me is really what encourages me to try new varieties. Just things that look interesting and something that I think will look pretty in a bouquet.
I do the same thing with vegetables. It's like either what vegetable is expensive at the store? Let me see if I can grow some of these.
Right.
Or like, ooh, that looks good. I'm trying to find seeds, I think, for an ice cream plant. It's like they grow little pods, and you eat it, and the seed tastes like ice cream, like vanilla ice cream.
What?
As soon as I find some of those, I'm trying to grow some. But yeah, so I get it. What are the biggest challenges or some unexpected advantages of farming on like a micro urban scale?
I think disadvantages, well, mostly that I'm doing it by myself. I'm doing it by myself, so it's a lot of work. It's enjoyable work. I find myself outside for like 6 to 8 hours sometimes when I have the time to do it. I do have a full-time job, so like on the weekends, or if I could sneak out there in between working, just to get ahead of like pruning and watering and fertilizing. So it's just a lot of work, so you gotta be prepared for that. But like I said, it's very rewarding and it's very enjoyable because it's very therapeutic at the same time too. And the advantage of growing on a micro urban scale is also the same answer as I'm doing it by myself. So
You don't have far
it's
to
just
go.
yeah, if I don't have far to go, it's in my backyard. The hose is right there. You know, I don't have to get all this specialty equipment to manage my space, and it's a business and job of one for me right now. You know, I don't know what the future holds. So it's peaceful. It's my me time. It's my grounding time when I'm outside. It's just zen. I play some music sometimes on my speaker or in my headphones, and I'll be out there with my iced coffee, and it brings you some pure joy and peace in your soul. And it's not a type of peace that I feel like a lot of people have felt in their soul, you know?
Yeah, I think more people need to be out in the garden, quite frankly.
Yes.
Are there any specific types of flowers or varieties you found surprisingly well suited to your micro farm environment, or some that were harder than you expected?
Well, there are definitely some that I haven't grown because I'm afraid of how hard they are to grow.
Like name one of the hard ones.
Dahlias, and a lot of people think dahlias are easy, but they're very high maintenance. They're heavy feeders when it comes to fertilizing. You know, they'll get mildew in the middle of the summer if it's too humid. You got to strip the lower leaves on them so that way there's good aeration if you don't have a lot of space to space them out, which I try to grow as many of them as I can in one row. So I'm on hands and knees ripping the lower leaves off, and then it's like you get tarnish bugs or you get cucumber beetles, and Japanese beetles. But you know, you're dealing with those pests, and it's just they're a lot. And if you want them to produce more, you have to make sure you're taking deep cuts and you're cutting from them often, or else you're not going to get a lot of blooms. And it's like you're paying this money for these little tubers. You want to get a lot of blooms out of them. You know, you don't want just one or two. You want to make the most out of them. So I would say those ones are harder, but they're also an addiction, and I keep buying more tubers. So it's like I'm giving myself more work, and I know that it's coming, and I still keep doing it. So there's that. And then flowers that fit that space and that have been easy, which I think they would be easy in any space, are zinnias. Like if you want to start and try a flower that's beautiful and that's easy to grow, try zinnias. They come in so many varieties. I'm growing like 20 to 24 or something like that varieties of zinnia this year. And they're just different shapes, different sizes, different textures, different colors. You know, they have color blend ones where they look like they're ingredient colors. And you can just, I always tell people, like, you can take those seeds and throw them at the ground and spit on them, and they would grow. Like those, and they're drought tolerant. So that's another thing. Zinnias like the heat, and they can handle drier soil. So they're definitely, you don't have to water them, you know, constantly. They kind of do their own thing. The only thing about disadvantage is towards the end of the season, without a doubt, you're going to have powdery mildew on them, on the leaves. It's just its life cycle. And I think it's where we're at. Like, there's no fighting it. You can apply everything that you want to be prepared for it, to try to slow it down, but you're going to get powdery mildew on them. So it's best to just have like a second succession of baby plants ready to go, so you can rip out the old ones and put in the new ones if you really want to extend your growing season.
That makes sense. I was just about to ask you that. It's like, so what happens if they get powdery? Do you just like you just yank them out and put in new ones?
I keep them most of the time. I mean, I feel like until it starts, they don't really, the powdery mildew affects the stems and the leaves more than it does the flower head. Like I've yet to really see it affect the flower heads. And the way that I harvest flowers for bouquets is you're stripping the whole stem. So unless the stem looks like gross basically and has too much powdery mildew and stuff on it, like, and is kind of unsellable, or it just is going to look funky in the base, like, they're fine. I just strip all the leaves off and stuff and try to get the little bit of powdery mildew off with like my fingers, and they're still good to go in a vase. They're not as pretty from the bottom down, but they still work.
Well, as long as you got the bloom on there, for most folks.
Yeah, for me, I'm not going to give them away, but I'll keep them for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now the name Soul Flower is beautiful. It seems deeply personal. Can you share about how that name came to be? Like
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you haven't really been focused. I think I've used the term soul probably like 5 or 6 times already in this interview, but it's what I felt. And I remember when I realized that was, to me, I realized that I was good at this. And I just kept telling like my mom and my friends and stuff when I spoke about it, like I felt it in my bones and in my soul, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, like this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm good at. That and it doesn't have like a super true connection to flowers, but it kind of reminded me of my dad too. Like he's always been into funk and soul music, and he's always called me like his star child. And I don't know how soul came from that, but for whatever reason, like my mind went to that too. And so I think I was thinking like soul child. So not just the fact that it made my soul happy, I just felt it from within. And then I thought about that part too. And I was like, soul flower, soul flower. I actually tried it out in Spanish too. Me and my mom were going back and forth with names. And I was like, I didn't like it in Spanish as much. I'm Puerto Rican. So I was like trying to put that little bit of Spanish in there too. And I was like, I just like soul flower. It just kind of rolls off of the tongue easy. And the last thing I did, I remember I Googled that term to see if it was like an Urban Dictionary or something.com and to see if that term actually exists. And a website came up and it had described a person that is easygoing, in love with nature, and just grounded with earth. And I was like, I feel like that's me, And I was like, okay, this feels like the right name. I didn't see it in a lot of places when I Googled it, and I was like, this is strange that this isn't popping up a lot. I feel like this is kind of meant to be, and so I stuck with it.
Yeah.
Well,
so what's been the most rewarding part of the whole journey so far?
I think finding peace and being able to use this as a creative outlet and seeing how it makes other people light up. And I just feel passionate. I think it's just been so long since I felt passionate about something. Like I used to be passionate about fashion. I went to school for that. And I thought that was going to be it. That was going to be my career. And lo and behold, at 33 years old, I'm like, I could care less. All I want to do is have my hands in the dirt. Like I want a farm at some point. I want the next house, and I want an acre, and I want more flower beds. And I just feel like it has changed how I handle my anxiety and my winter depression. And I don't even really notice how long winter is now, because it gives me something to look forward to. Even when the season is ending, you still have so much to do. You have to pull them, you have to plan your next beds, you have to figure out what seed you're going to buy, when you're going to buy them, when you're going to start them. So it's like you're constantly thinking about something else, so it keeps your mind busy. You're not worried about, God, it's still gray outside, oh, we're on month 2 of winter. Like it has just helped in a lot of areas, surprisingly.
It sounds like it. So how does the connection with your customers and the community fuel what you do, or does it?
It does fuel what I do. I still give away free bouquets, which I know is probably bad for business. But I've tried to make a point last year to give most of my close neighbors a bouquet just at some point in the summertime. And just the surprise when they open the door and you're handing them this massive bouquet of flowers that they've probably never seen half of those types of flowers, because you can't get them in the grocery store. And they're just always so like surprised and thankful, and they just seem so happy. And it just, that in itself, the feeling like I'm able to do something nice for people that isn't, breaking my bank, and it brings me joy too, and it's bringing them joy, and maybe it'll encourage them to bring joy to somebody else. Like it's kind of what they call that ripple effect. You hoping that by doing something nice for someone, they're gonna feel encouraged to do that as well, or maybe try to grow some flowers themselves. Maybe they'll get curious.
Paying it forward to a little bit.
Yeah, paying it forward. Yeah, I've experienced that a lot too. People are surprisingly, I've had a lot of very kind interactions here in Columbus, Ohio, with people trying to pay it forward and encouraging you to pay it forward. So it is a good way to pay it forward, I feel like.
Yes, I think that sometimes gets missed a lot.
It does.
We're focused on the negative folks that are the loudest, but there's so many wonderful folks out here
Right.
doing good things and trying to be kind and considerate of each other. So,
Yeah.
So now you've connected with different flower friends and real farmers through your social media. How has the community support and those conversations impacted your journey and your learning?
Just very encouraging, and it's nice to talk to like-minded people who are just obsessed as you are. It's nice to talk to people who are obsessed as you are, because I could talk flowers for hours, as you can probably tell. But I could talk flowers for hours, but you don't it's different when you're trying to talk flowers with, like, even my wife, and it's like, she's very techie, and I could tell she wants to be as excited as me, but I know about 3 minutes into that conversation I can see like the the glaze happening, because it's like she thinks it's pretty, but she's not trying to grow them and stuff. So when you talk to these folks online and they're just so encouraging, and they're like, well, what are you growing, what are you dealing with right now, here's a sweet website where you could buy some seeds, here, you want this coupon, like, you just vibe very instantly with them, at least in my experience. And I have yet, and I'm not even exaggerating, I have 2 Instagrams. I have my personal, which is just, normal Instagram, makeup artists, celebrities, all that crap. And then you have the other side. I have my gardening one, where I only follow flower farmers, or people with small gardens, or people interested in flowers. And I have seen zero negativity on that side of Instagram. I have never had a mean comment or a mean, snarky message. I've never gotten a snarky response. Like, everyone has just been so kind and encouraging, to the point where even this year we've started sending each other seeds, like, in the mail, and it's kind of turned into like this pen pal thing. And it's just exciting, one, to get real mail, because I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to like handwrite notes and just send, at least our generation, to send, like, just send mail just because. So it's just fun to like collect these seeds and be like, surprise, here's some seeds for you to try, and I'm like, surprise, I sent you some seeds too. It's just fun. It's fun. And it's just, like I said, it's nice to be around people just excited as you are about something you're interested in.
I love the idea of, you get to kind of keep seeds. I forgot that there used to be, I don't know if they still do it at the library, but you used to be able to go to the library and pick up seeds. Like, they would collect them for people to come, and you could just take a few. I don't know if they still do it, but I know they used to do it.
I'll have to look. That's cool.
Yeah, check it out. I don't know, like, if everyone still do it, but they used to do it when I was back in Michigan. At the Southfield Public Library, I believe they had something where you could go to the little little seed bank, if you will, and like, people would donate, and especially the people that have taken seeds from it. You bring some back when you have some, and donate them for the next farmers or for the next growers. So
that's amazing.
Well, perhaps let me know if you see anything where you are. Looking ahead, what's next for Soulflower? Any goals or new projects or anything exciting varieties you're planning to grow this year?
I think project-wise, I think I'm going to try to actually make a couple little t-shirts and stuff. I wasn't trying, when I started it last year, the business last year, I was really trying to do what I could with the money I had, and I have a habit of like trying to jump headfirst into things, and it's like, oh, I need stickers and I need t-shirts and I need bags and I need all this, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get exactly what I need. I'm gonna get like my little tent, I'm gonna buy my little brown paper to wrap them up in, I'm gonna get some stickers and call it a day. And I don't want to invest all this money, because I'm always thinking of worst case scenario. I'm like, because what if I fail, and then I have all these supplies on hand, I spent all this money I'm not gonna be able to do anything with. I still have the flowers for me, but I don't want to invest all this money and then just let it go to waste. So this year, now I feel a little more confident in like selling and stuff. One, I want to open up to doing custom bouquets. Last year I was doing subscription bouquets, to where you could go on my little drop form and request what weeks you would like a bouquet dropped off on your porch, or you could meet at a pickup spot that people could come and grab their bouquets during a time slot. And they were all kind of my choice of flowers. It was what I was making. I was going to make the same type of bouquet, and this is what you get this week. This is what is coming out next week. You can buy it that way. This year, I want to give people selection choices. So like, you could choose like a color palette, you could choose a size, that type of thing. I would hoping, if everything goes smoothly. And I do want to try to do more than one market this year. I only did one last year and it was great, but it's, again, nerves. And it was a lot of work getting everything packed up. And then a lot of the flowers got damaged in the process of getting to the farmer's market. And so it was a learning lesson. So now I know how I would do it this year. And so I want to try that out to see if it goes a little bit better. But, and one of the biggest goals this year is I told myself I want to donate flowers, if it's a community home, if it's a senior home, if it's a shelter. I just want to take a few buckets of flowers and either have them prearranged or have it to where people can just pick the flowers that they want, that type of thing. Because I feel like people have been so generous, at least, my farming friends and people there to support me and stuff. Like, I want to be able to give that back. I feel like it's important to do that. And also karma wise too, like you should just always be trying to do something good, not in hopes that something great happens to you, but just to put that energy out there. Because I really feel like you said there's just so much negative stuff going on, and we see it every day. We see the news, we wake up to it. People are meaner, people want to argue over the most minute things, and it's just like we need more kindness in the world. And it's kind of sounds corny, but it's true. It's like you can't expect it to just happen if you're not putting that energy out yourself,
Yeah. You have to, I won't say the full quote, but you got to bring some to get some type of thing.
Right. Exactly.
So for someone who's listening, who has a small space, feels that spark of interest in growing something, what's the one piece of advice or encouragement you would give to just get started?
Just try it. Just try it and give it your all, and just know that it's trial and error. If you want to be better about it and educate yourself first, that's great. Read books. YouTube is a great, free way to learn. And honestly, you could find a lot of articles and whatnot and gardening pages, just Google searching. But don't feel like you have to spend all kind of money and buy the most amazing equipment, because I almost went down that road and was going to buy these like $70 trays and expensive lights and stuff. They're flowers. I mean, you need seeds, water, and sunshine. Some of them need darkness, but you don't need to spend a ton of money to get what you're gonna get. Like, I'm growing all these, and I would buy, little $60 shelves, the 3 of them, about one a year. You could get lights very cheap. You don't need grow lights. It's all about lumens, which I learned from a farmer friend. So if a light has 4,000 and up lumens, that's enough light that it generates basically fake daylight. And you could get those as shop lights from like Harbor Freight or whatever your local stores. They're cheaper than grow lights. You could get like one for like 16 to 18 bucks. So, and they're big. Yeah. People use them as shop lights. So you could do that. And then just trays that are cheap. I mean, Dollar Tree has trays that I've used that are great. And if you wash them carefully, you can reuse them multiple times. You trays off Amazon, just don't feel like you have to spend a ton of money to do this. It really doesn't take much.
Takes patience.
It takes patience, though. Yeah. It takes a lot of
money.
It does take a lot of patience, yeah, but not a lot of money. And the exchange for the happiness and the peace and having something to keep you busy is also good. So.
Okay. I got 2 more questions. The first one is a little bit of a bonus question, unrelated to what we've talked about, but I'm curious. What was the first album or CD, or I don't know what medium you was popular when you were first buying records? The first album you ever bought with your own money?
That's so funny because I know it's Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys, Songs in A minor. That was the first CD I ever had. And my first cassette was Britney Spears. And I think my parents got me that, but Alicia Keys was my first CD.
That was the first one you bought. Okay, I did like that album.
Yeah, I did love that. I love Alicia Keys. At least I like her older albums. I can't say that I listen to her very much now, but I have that whole album still memorized, I'm pretty sure. So.
That's cool. So where can people find Soulflower Florals and follow your journey and perhaps even buy some of your flowers?
Yeah, well, I'm here in Columbus, Ohio right now. I still keep it local. So if you're in Columbus, Ohio, look me up on Instagram. It's Soulflower Florals, no spaces, no dots or anything in between. So at Soulflower Florals. I also have a Facebook. I'm trying to be better about my Facebook. I'm not on there as actively. I'm definitely more of an Instagram person. But I have Soulflower Florals on Facebook as well, the same way that it is on Instagram. Soulflower Florals together, no dots or spaces or underscores. And then you can reach me by email if you have questions or, just want to talk flowers at soulflowerflorals@outlook.com. I'm always here to talk flowers. So, or just give advice. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me today and answering these questions. And like I said, it's really been nice meeting you and getting to know you a little bit better.
Likewise. It's nice to talk to other folks who are just excited. Excited about what you do,
Yeah, I'm quiet as it's kept. I want to keep talking about just gardening in general, but I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to keep it moving because you talk about bringing up all these people, and it's like you're going the flower route. I did the same thing when it comes to all the vegetable gardening. It's like I want to get out there and put together some grow buckets for potatoes. You know, I saw some cool thing for that, and it's like, well, I've got buckets to do that with. So yeah, I get it. It's passion, it's excitement, it's fun, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So thanks again, Amethyst, and thank you for looking and watching. And I will see you next time.
Bye, y'all. Thank you so much.
It's growing. This love inside of me. Oh, and it's showing. Shining so bright. It's growing. This love of mine. Yes, and it's showing. Just can't hide. So long we've been together. Can't keep you to myself. Got to share you with another. Got to share you with someone else. It's growing. This love inside of me. Oh, and it's showing. Shining so bright. It's growing. I know this love of mine. Yes, it is showing. Just can't hide. Come on, my brothers and sisters, let's not waste our times. We got to move together. Let's synchronize our minds. It's growing. This love inside of